Dust2 is the most popular map in CS history, yet most players I know seem to hate the map with a passion. And the reason is that their teammates still have no idea what they're doing. Because Dust2 might seem simple, just buy an op and hold mid, but if you think that, you're playing it wrong. So I'm going to show you exactly what you're doing wrong and how to win on Dust2 consistently. But first, I want to tell you about our sponsor, dmarket. Dmarket is an all-in-one trading site where you can buy, sell, and trade your skins safe and effectively. Not only does dmarket have some of the lowest seller fees out there, they've also got amazing prices to buy skins. For example, my M4A1S print stream would be 307 Canadian or 225 US on the Steam market, but you can get the exact same skin with a better float for 20% cheaper on dmarket. They even have a specific sticker filter search in case you want to make one of these things, or just look for a gun with something you like, in any color or number of stickers. With a ton of deposit and withdrawal options, dmarket makes it easy to get the skin you want with no risk, so check out dmarket at the link in the description. Dust2 has been in CS for 20 years, and you'd think that means it would be solved, but almost nobody plays it even close to right. Because having a dedicated short A player, wrong. Not playing short ever, wrong. Playing 2-1-2 every round, wrong. Rushing long without this spawn. Okay, there's just too many lists. Now, the problem with Dust2 is that the map sucks, but also 2 players is not enough to hold long, you need 3, but 1 player isn't enough to hold B, you need 2, but that leaves 0 players to hold mid and cat, and they can just rush you. So really, you don't have enough players unless you're playing casual, or you play the right setups. The right setup being after the early round, usually this one, so you have 3 players against an A hit, and a quick rotate to potentially have 3 players against a mid B split as well. But getting into that setup is a bit more complicated. This is a tier 2 pro game, and they use 12 flashes to not even take long. Because long A is one of the most annoying spots to hold on any map, but unfortunately, you do need to hold it. You don't need to hold it every time, but worse than not holding long A is what I see most players do, which is send 2 players there with no support, and then they lose long, and if they don't die, then they get stuck on plat, and they end up with no control of long, or short, or tunnels, or mid, and at this point, you may as well just leave the game, because it's pretty much over. So a standard long hold that should win you long control almost every time is the first spawn mollies long doors, then turns and wait for a flash. The second spawn runs in backwards, and if the T's are throwing utility, turns around and mollies blue bin, then waits for a flash. And the third spawn, or the opper if you have one, throws 2 or 3 if his teammates drop him 1 flashes for the long players. The first one lands in front and the others behind, so your teammates can keep fighting once they peek out. Then that player can go look cat or move over to mid, and he's really not even all that late to the spot. Or if you're not lucky enough to have a player do that for you, you can actually turn around and try throwing this flash for yourself. With long though, one of the nice things in CS2 is actually because mollies are bigger, you can connect the 2 mollies from long doors to Voo, they updated mollies. That doesn't work anymore. Okay, never mind. But still, this is a really effective way to hold a long rush and set up into pit. But you might have a problem. Yo, can you molly long doors for me? You have the best spawn. Okay, so your team isn't listening on a map and game that requires a lot of coordination. You're basically fucked. Okay, the main thing you need to know is how the map actually works, which is what most people don't get, because you can retake A without long control from short, and you can retake A without short control from long. But if you're on A plat with no short or long control, you're screwed. So if your teammates are playing heavy short, that's not perfect because good utility should clear them out over time, but you can win with that. Just don't run into long and die for no reason. Okay, rewind. If short sucks, why do pro teams play it so often? Well, that's because there's 2 parts of short. There's aggressive short, where pros play without long control, sometimes known as mid, and there's passive short, where your teammates play without long control. So this play, thumbs up, liked and subscribed. T's aren't ready to fight here, especially if they think you took long. But this play, well, 2 T's on short, and this molly flash combo will end with the CTs having control of nothing, which is exactly why you see teams take long, then rotate back short sometimes. If you know they're there, you can clear them out pretty well. Now this is what a B rush might look like from T's once they know you start 3A most rounds. And this is Naf absolutely destroying a B rush on his own. Okay, that wasn't exactly destroyed. Oh, sorry, this is Naf absolutely destroying a B rush the very next round. It helps if the mid player tosses some flash over to help support, and the B player doesn't instantly die because he's playing close up and then swings out on him. But let's be honest, that's probably what your B player is gonna do. So to solve the 3-1-1 isn't enough to hold B problem, the solution is to start 3 3-0-2 with 2 players B some rounds. And in the mid round, this might surprise you, but most teams have their mid player move over to B, because holding this angle seems super cool until you realize you can get double peeked really easily, and re-peeking this is terrible when they can see your shadow. Alright, look, if you've played CS a long time, you probably don't realize how many comments are going to be on this video saying 3-1-1 is crazy and you have to play 2B. So let me ask you, what do you do when you play 2B and they don't go B? You lose. The answer is you lose, because contrary to popular belief, A on Dust2 is less than B, especially if you're retaking from CT without short or long control, because you started 2 players B for the 1 round per half your opponents actually rush B. The key to this though is the mid player is a mid player, but they're also a B support player. So stop, what are you doing? Stop, don't peek mid. So they shouldn't be peeking mid and dying every round. In fact, most teams play a rifler mid, because if you only have 1 op, it's nicer to have them at car holding a short push than it is to have them mid, where 1 flash will make them fall all the way back into B site. And it even helps when your opponents rush long, because your mid and B player can group up and push tons or take bottom mid control together, and then you don't have to just guess what your opponents are doing if they take long and don't instantly rush to the site. This is the best T spawn. These are the T spawns that beat the best CT spawn to long corner. But these are the spawns that can spot the best CT spawn crossing to pit, which is really important. So please stop rushing long with terrible spawns. You're just gonna get naded every time. You're gonna die in the molly. They're gonna get into pit. You're gonna be screwed. Stop rushing long without the best spawns. I find at lower levels, there's generally 2 genres of bad Dust2 play on T side. The first one is taking long, then they look around confused because they don't know what to do after that. And the second one is failing to take long and then looking around confused because you don't know what to do after that. Look, long is important, but there are other options. In fact, it's rare to play against a team that can handle a good mid-B split, but it's a lot easier if you can take long. So here's a decent set of spawns for a long rush. A corner smoke from here is super useful, but requires a lot of coordination. So what you actually need is a player throwing these flashes that don't land way too deep like most players like to throw them. The main things you need for a long rush are good spawns, obviously, good flashes that don't land behind your opponents, and the first 2 spawns getting out of long doors as fast as possible. And you'll notice I didn't say all 5 players, because sending all 5 players often ends like this, with 4 CTs on site and 1 person holding so you don't rush back T spawn. If we look at Liquid rushing long, Skulls is in tunnels and he dies, but that gives the rest of the team the info that the site is nearly empty, so they go and win the round. And when the CTs don't push tunnels, that player can help flank the players fighting cross, or in lower level games where nobody rotates, you can just go back short and win the round for free. And if you want to be super cool, you can combine the normal cross smoke with this deep cross smoke, so the only people that can nade the cross are super close up. You can also add in this Molotov and some flashes on the right if you're one of those utility nerds. So what do you do when this happens? Guys, let's rush long. Well, you can try saying, why would you call that? This is why you're stuck in faceit 1, which will probably lose you the game. Or you can tell them a few things, but a delay long rush is really the point I'm trying to get to here, because that's another way to take long if long rushes aren't working. So a delayed long rush is where you wait, not in long doors. Don't wait inside of long doors. You wait a bit for your opponents to use their early utility, then you hit long a bit delayed. That's it. If neither of those work, the response needs to be either rush B or let's do a default, or no, don't do that. And when they inevitably have no idea what a default is, you're gonna tell them, I'll smoke Xbox and we'll take short A control, which looks a bit like this with either 2 players lower or 2 players top mid. It even helps if one of your players throws this Molotov so it's easier to clear tons. But then we have the T side problem. You can't go past short bricks without smokes and flashes, but you can't hit B without at least 4 players, but you can't go mid to B without a smoke CT and a good flash from mid, but your team isn't gonna have any coordination to make that happen, so most likely they're just gonna run out and die one by one. I'm gonna be honest, you're not gonna get a random team to do a decent short A hit. You can try this smoke with a Molotov on plat and some flashes over, but more realistically, you should go for a mid to B hit most of the time. Use this molly to clear close mid doors, and by the way, you can do this earlier in the round too. Then use this smoke and flash combo to get outdoors and start moving up B. Then you actually go into the bomb site instead of sitting outside B forever. Look, Dust2 is a pretty easy map if your opponents just run into into you and die all the time. But on CT side, if you play a team that rushes long well, or on T side if you play a team that double ops and doesn't give you free kills, it's actually a really hard map to play, and I've been getting really frustrated watching people just make really basic mistakes that I could have told you were a mistake 15 years ago. Anyways, thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, click on this other one YouTube thinks you'll like.